Yo, what's up? Dr. Swole here, MD, pro natural physique athlete. Today I'm going to be giving you 20 low-calorie foods for fat loss. As you might know, I've recently restarted contest prep for WNBF Worlds, and I want to share some really practical low-calorie food ideas for you guys to use as well. I think it's really important to understand where different foods lie on your caloric density scale. That is, the amount of calories they give you for the amount of fullness they provide. This is obviously useful for fat loss, but it's also useful for bulking. There is going to be an optimal rate of weight gain when you're bulking. I am an advocate of lean bulking. And basically, you don't want to let your weight gain get out of control to a point where you're putting on a lot of unnecessary fat. So having some low-calorie foods in your arsenal will be useful even when bulking in case you overshoot a bit on calories and you want to draw things back. This is going to be a mix of foods, drinks, and condiments, and I'll be sharing some handy tips and tricks for how I like to use these foods. Starting off with number one on the list, this is in no particular order, is fat-free Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt packs a lot of protein, and when you get the fat-free version, is also low in calories. I like to think of this as an ice cream substitute that you can use when you're dieting. Works really well to have it with fruit, and if you want it really lean, you can get it plain, so without any sugar as well. And then add one of the syrups that I'll be mentioning later in the video. Number two on the list is plain vegetables, and you'll hear me always mentioning the word plain when I talk about vegetables, and that is an important point. You want to be careful adding a lot of sauces, which will likely contain sugar and fats. Typically when I'm in contest prep, I'll have my vegetables plain. So when I talk about plain vegetables, I typically mean raw, boiled, steamed, or roasted. I'm just going to lump vegetables all together in this one because most vegetables are actually very low calorie. And if you're really fighting hunger, I would recommend including some plain vegetables with every meal. A tip would be to end your meal with your vegetables so that you can fill up and so that you're not tempted to eat more, which might happen with your tastier foods. Next up on the list is oats. I really like oats just because they're one of the most filling carb sources for me. And depending on how much water you add, you can titrate the amount of volume that you produce with your oats. The really low calorie version is to just get plain oats, so you're not having any added sugar, and then adding some type of 0-calorie sweetener. Oats are also really handy because they're easy to pack and they're non-perishable. So I'll have these around in prep so that I can fall back on them as a carb source in case I run out of meal preps. Number 4 on the list is egg whites. Egg whites are one of the lowest calorie protein options out there. They're basically just straight protein. Other advantages of egg whites are that they're really easy to prepare. You don't need to be cracking open a lot of eggs. You can just buy cartons of them and just pour them out. And they also last for quite a while in the fridge. These are really easy to make in scrambles or to put into sandwiches or wraps. Number 5 on our list of low-calorie foods is salsa. Salsa is an underrated condiment that packs a ton of flavor without so many calories. I'll note that salsa goes particularly well with egg whites, which I just mentioned. Alright, next up is diet soda. Diet soda is one of my favorites. I do consider diet soda to be one of those 0-calorie hacks. I don't know if you'd even consider this a food, but I'm putting it on the list anyways just because I find it's really useful. There are 3 advantages diet soda gives us when we're trying to lose weight. First of all, it fills up your stomach, and part of our satiety signals come from our stomach being distended. Next, it can satisfy those sweet cravings. Finally, the carbonation can also help to distend your stomach, which is another added advantage. I'd recommend choosing non-caffeinated versions, just so that you can drink them at any time of the day you feel, and it won't interfere with your sleep. Diet soda is safe when you have it in reasonable quantities. Number 7 on our list of low-calorie foods is another protein option, and this is canned tuna. I find canned tuna to be very filling for the amount of calories that it gives you. Plus, the canned form is really convenient to have along in your bag, and you can always have some in the cupboard in case you're short on protein. Now, there is some concern about mercury in fish. Having 2 or 3 servings of canned light tuna per week should be safe though. Next up on the list is pickles. This one's kind of an underrated one, and it's one of those things that you kind of start eating more when you're getting really lean. I feel like it's kind of an insider joke in the bodybuilding world, but pickles are very low in calorie, and they're also full of flavor. One of the powers of these really intensely flavored foods is that it forces you to eat slowly. Slowing down the pace of your eating can really help with satiety. Number 9 is a really handy protein source, and that is beef jerky. In our culture, we tend not to have that many high protein, low calorie protein snacks. And if you walk into a grocery or convenience store, you're mainly going to find things that are high in calories, high in carbs, and high in fats. But beef jerky is one of those few high protein, low calorie snacks that you can find in convenience stores. So this is one of those items that's just really good to know about so that if you're in a pinch and you're showing up to a grocery store hungry, you can find a lean protein source. Number 10 on our list are apples. There are lots of great fruit options that are low in calorie, and I won't be able to put them all in this video. Fruit, however, in contrast to vegetables, does contain significantly more calories. So you do have to be a little bit careful with fruit. Some fruits are going to be relatively higher in calorie, and you'll just want to be cognizant of the carb content. Apples, I find, are a very filling fruit option, and they're also great because they're so convenient to just pack and eat on the go. I'm a huge advocate of convenience when it comes to food, And I think that it's important to find ways to fit food into your life so that you're hitting your macros even if you're on a really tight schedule. Keep in mind that if you're short on food ideas, you can always have 2 or 3 apples at once. All right, now we have decaf coffee. As you're probably getting the drift of, I really like having decaf options just because you can have them whenever you want. Decaf coffee or decaf iced coffee are great options when you're showing to a coffee shop with a friend or with a date and you don't want to ruin your macros. It's really easy to add Splenda to make this taste better, and some places like Starbucks will even have 0-calorie caramel syrup. Finally, something that will justify your exorbitant coffee bills. Number 12, let's talk about kimchi. Kimchi is one that I don't see talked about often, but it's another one of those really low-calorie, flavor-packed foods. Kimchi can be a great way to spice up meals like rice and chicken breast, but also works really well with noodles and stir fries. It lasts for a long time in the fridge, so it's another one of those really handy foods to have in the fridge for when you want it. Next up, we have popcorn, and this one's really popular with good reason. Popcorn is really low calorie and has a lot of volume. Another thing it has is that crunch factor. I actually find that finding foods that are crunchy just because it forces you to spend more time chewing. This slows down the rate at which you eat and also gives you the illusion that you're eating more. One trick with popcorn is to get unflavored popcorn, add salt and Splenda, and you basically have a no-calorie added kettle corn. Another one of my favorite low-calorie fruits is pears. Pears, like apples, are really easy to grab and go. They don't last quite as long as apples do, but they're still really convenient. Another thing about apples and pears is that they're really easy to track. One medium-sized piece of fruit usually has around 25 grams of carbs. And I find that counting carbs in portions of 25 grams is easiest. Number 15 is a condiment, and this is Walden Farm syrups. These are basically 0-calorie sweetener condiments. I've been using the 0-calorie caramel syrup, and it's an easy way to make your oats or plain Greek yogurt taste like a dessert. Canned beans are a really underrated low-calorie carb source. They have a lot of protein and an insane amount of fiber. You can get canned beans in tomato sauce and just have them as a carb source. This illustrates a general hack that I like to use, which is upping your fiber intake when you're dieting. The power of fiber is that it's really filling, so looking for high fiber carb options is going to be a good idea. Another low-calorie protein option is fat-free cottage cheese. I used to have this one a lot in university. One of the key points is that dairy can be a really good protein source, and it's nice how we're able to select the calorie density when we go to the grocery store by choosing different fat percentages. When you're bulking, you might have 1 or 2% fat options, and when you're cutting, you would go with the fat-free. I feel like cottage cheese is a pretty polarizing one in terms of taste. Just get creative with how you dress it up. Now, our list of low-calorie foods wouldn't be complete without chicken breast. There's a reason why chicken breast is such a historical staple in bodybuilding culture. It's cheap, it's high in protein, it's low in calorie, and it amends itself really well for meal prepping. I think the key with chicken breast is learning how to cook it properly without it drying out. I personally will roast mine in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 minutes. I'd also recommend that you try and buy these in bulk and meal prep them, just because it'll save you time and money. Number 19 on our list of low-calorie foods is another condiment, and this one is hot sauce. Obviously, there's lots of different hot sauces. My personal favorite is Frank's Red Hot. But the point I want to bring up is to be really careful at looking at your nutrition labels for any condiments that you buy. You'll find that a lot of condiments actually have quite a bit of sugar and fat added. So ideally you want to find those that have no calories or at least minimal calories. Hot sauces are going to be really useful when you're dieting and choosing really low calorie bland options like chicken breast. And getting used to using spices and hot sauces for flavor will help in cutting unnecessary calories. Last on our list of low calorie food options is sauerkraut. This is one that I just started implementing in my last contest prep, and it's another one of those really flavorful but low calorie options. This can be a really easy way to add a flavorful side to your meal. Also, since the flavor is so intense, you can really nibble on it slowly. Hope you enjoyed the list, guys. Question for you: what are your favorite low-calorie food ideas? Let me know in the comments below. It'll be great to share some ideas. If you want to learn how to perform a mini cut, which is a short, aggressive fat loss phase designed to strip off fat as efficiently as possible, check out this video where I walk you through the fundamentals. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.